Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Lawdit Solicitors Podcast. My name is Ellis, and I'm a solicitor here at Lawdit. And today I am joined by a unexpected guest, one that hasn't been on the podcast before, but a very, very welcome one. Alyssa, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
So Alyssa is joining us from her university in France and has come for 2 months.
Yes.
For to do some work experience and do an internship. So we definitely wanted to get Alyssa on the podcast to understand about her journey and what she's been doing with her studies, and also delve into a little bit about sort of France versus the UK and the differences in the laws there, and sort of give our listeners an insight into what happens across the Solent in France. So welcome to the podcast. Did you want to start with a little bit of sort of background as to what brought you to Lawdit, where are you with your studies, and sort of what made you go into law into the first place?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for welcoming me. It's really a pleasure to work here. If I have to explain why I studied law, I think it's kind of unexpected. To be honest, when I was younger, I've seen a first trial, and I was completely amazed by those people working inside the court, and I thought that's the thing I wanted to do in my life, and I wanted to be a lawyer or a judge in international courtroom. So that's why after high school, I entered uni and I did a double degree. Because in France, you do 3 years of bachelor degree and then you do master degree to get specialized.
Okay.
And the master is 2 years. But I did a double degree in law and languages. But regarding those moments, during half of my bachelor degree, I realized that I didn't like law.
Okay.
And I thought that I was going to quit. But the thing is that when I start something, I just have to go until the end of it. So I finished it, and I wanted to join one of my passion in life, which is art.
Yeah.
So I start looking for a master that could join law and art, and that's how I ended up doing a master degree in Nantes in intellectual property.
Yeah.
To get specialized in authors' rights.
Okay, so we've gone from not wanting to do law at all to discovering intellectual property. Very interesting. So at the moment you are near the end of your masters?
Exactly. My master degree, like the classes are done, but I still have this last exam to do and to prepare, which is going to happen the 9th of July.
Very soon.
And after this, hopefully, I'll be graduated and specialized in intellectual property.
Wonderful. So in the UK, once we finish our degree, we then do a sort of a separate course, what I would describe as sort of a solicitor's course, to then go on to do training to qualify as a solicitor. So how does it work in France in terms of after you finish your masters, what's the next step?
It completely depends on what you're looking for. For example, if you want to give advice to people, you can stop after the bachelor, but it's very you should stop after the master, because most of the time you can't find work without it.
Okay.
So you can work as someone who gives advice in like some firms, or you can work in big companies that have their own private law team.
Yeah.
But if you want to be, for example, a lawyer or a judge, you need to do other classes and other specifications. So mainly you have to pass an exam to enter the school, but most of the time it's very difficult. So most of students take 1 year to prepare the exam. And once you got inside the school, thanks to the exam, you have 2 years to be a lawyer. 2 years where you switch between classes and internship, and then at the end you pass the bar, and then you can become a lawyer.
Okay, so in France, a lawyer is a term to describe someone that sort of goes to court and represents people in court. Okay, so in the UK we have solicitors and barristers, and both of those would be considered considered as types of lawyers. So by the sounds of things, to be a sort of a solicitor equivalent, so the same as, you just need to do your degree and your master's potentially, and then you can work for a firm or work in-house in a company. There is no additional qualification that you need. Is that right?
And that, yeah, I would say that's the difference between France and England.
Yeah.
In France, lawyers are the mix of solicitor and barrister. And you can start, after you finish your master degree, you can start to work in a law firm and work for the lawyers for different years and get practice, but you always have to pass these exams to be qualified as a lawyer.
Yeah, to then sort of what we would then call a barrister, go to court and represent people. Very, very interesting. That is very interesting. I sort of assumed that most potentially specifically European countries would be uniform in terms of sort of what is and what isn't considered a lawyer, or what courses you had to do. So it's very interesting that it's very different. Obviously, as you said, you've specialised in your masters in intellectual property. Is that an area that you want to continue into in your future?
That's actually a good question, because even though I found a master that actually really interests me, and to be honest, I think that it's probably the only area of law that can keep me in law. I thought I wanted to work in the market field of arts. So that's actually the thing I'm looking for. But to be honest, this internship had made me realize that I could enjoy working in a law firm. So right now I'm just staying open-minded, and we will see where I end up.
See what happens next. Well, first things first is finishing, obviously, your masters. And then do you graduate? Do you have like a graduation or a celebration after you finish?
I don't know, because it's not like... That's just the kind of depressing thing in France. We don't have huge parties to celebrate the graduation. If we have one, it's because the student decided to organize one.
Okay.
But it's not like in the UK or in the USA. We don't do that.
Oh, that is sad. You should start the trend. You should have your own graduation and invite all of your classmates. Okay, so if we move our focus to intellectual property a little bit, anyone who's listened to the podcast before will have heard a number of episodes on intellectual property, the different types and how it works in the UK. So I'd really like to get your insight on sort of what the differences are in France. So generally speaking, in the UK, we have registered rights and unregistered rights. So, for example, registered trademarks and patents, there's an application process for those. And then something like copyright will arise automatically. There's no need to register it. Do you have a similar sort of breakdown in France in terms of both options?
We have exactly the same specification, and we just have the designs that are in the middle.
Yes. Yeah, so you can have both registered and unregistered.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So that's the same as UK. Brilliant. So in terms of the experience that you've had in the UK, what would you say is the major differences that would interest people the most?
To be honest, I didn't find any like huge differences. There's not such a gap as I would expected between both countries. But I would say that just like in chosen words, for example, in France we call it author's rights and not copyrights, which means kind of which side we took. And so I would say that probably in France we are more protective with the author's rights.
Yeah.
I can't think of a huge difference. Yeah, I can think about the passing off claim. That was something that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Because it looks like kind of the passing off is a mix of a different type of claim that you can build in France, because you don't have, I think, the personality rights. regarding your image and everything.
Yeah, so in the UK that would fall under sort of passing off, and potentially copyright as well, but there is no sort of separate right that's sort of carved out for that. It probably mostly would fall under passing off. So for those that are listening, passing off relates to unregistered brand rights. So you don't need to have a registered trademark. Essentially, if someone is using a brand or a logo and they are passing themselves off as someone else, there's what's called a misrepresentation. So essentially they are confusing the public into thinking that they are someone else, and that potentially then can cause damage to the original brand owner. Then that would be passing off. So we're talking about sort of what we would describe as the look and the feel. So what does a consumer see? Packaging, colouring, fonts, layouts, that sort of thing. And where would they perceive certain goods to come from? There is a well-known supermarket in the UK called Aldi, which you may or may not be aware of. It's around the world. They have got themselves into some legal hot water relating to passing off and creating look-alike brands and look-alike products. So that's probably a good example of passing off. So you don't have passing off as such in France,
Exactly,
but there's other types of areas that may be similar.
We more separate regarding why we're using it. We would probably use competitive law, and then it would be very specific of one area of the claim.
Okay, so if someone came to you and say, for example, they wanted to register a trademark, where would you go to file the application? Sort of what steps would you take?
So the application, you do it online as well as in the UK, and you do it on the official website of INPI, which is Intellectual Property Rights.
Okay, so it's sort of the French equivalent of the UK Intellectual Property Office.
Exactly.
Filed online, same sort of as it is in the UK. In the UK, our application process sort of goes through two stages. So the first stage is called the examination stage. So the office themselves look at the trademark and make sure it's compliant with the laws and the rules. And then the second stage is a period of time where earlier trademark owners, other businesses, can try and block new applications. So does the application process mirror the same thing?
It works exactly the same.
Okay.
It's the same amount of time, it's the same rules, it's the same order. We do exactly the same thing.
Perfect. Okay, so one subject we have covered on the podcast before is EU trademarks. So particularly if clients come to us and they want to expand their trademark protection, we're more likely to recommend that they file an EU trademark rather than sort of one in France and one in Germany, for example, because it's more cost effective to cover all of those countries in one go. So that doesn't surprise me that it mirrors the same, because they sort of want to keep everything really straightforward. Very interesting. So from what you know so far, would you say that being sort of in that field of intellectual property, working with representing clients, is that something that you are interested in terms of getting in the courtroom and that sort of thing?
That's the thing. I thought I wouldn't like it, but I ended up liking it. And I think that at the end, working in a law firm with a team, working together, helping each other's cases, and then build up the entire claim or the entire defense together, I think that could be very nice.
Good, very interesting. Well, when you leave us and you go off and you live your life, you'll definitely have to keep us updated with what you choose to do, and we'll let all of our listeners know. But for now, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
And if anyone's listening and they want to discuss anything in relation to intellectual property or any other areas of law, get in touch with us. All of our contact details are on our website, www.lawdit.co.uk, and either myself or one of the team will be in touch to help you. Well, again, thank you very much, Alyssa, for joining me.
Thank you, Ellis.
And keep your ear out for future episodes coming soon.